Before we dive into these jaw-dropping stories that will make you question everything you thought you knew about the people closest to you, smash that like button and subscribe, because you won't believe what happens next. I'm scrolling through Reddit at 2 a.m. when I see it. A post that makes my blood run cold. The title reads, "I just found out my entire life is a lie. The user's account is brand new. Created minutes ago." That's when you know it's real. When someone's world just shattered and they need to tell someone, anyone, before they lose their mind. OP starts typing and you can feel the panic through the screen. 3 hours ago, I was at my parents' house for Sunday dinner. Normal, boring. My mum made pot roast. My dad complained about his back. My sister showed us pictures of her new apartment. Then my mum got a phone call and her face went white. She excused herself, walked into the bedroom, but she didn't close the door all the way. I could hear her voice rising, hear her saying, "No, no, no," over and over. Something in my gut told me to listen, to move closer. I crept down the hallway, like I was 15 again, sneaking past their room to get to a party. And I heard her say it, the words that would destroy everything. She said, "He can never know the truth about his father." My heart stopped. I'm an only son. She was talking about me. I stood there frozen as she kept talking, kept saying things that didn't make sense about how it happened so long ago, about how she made a choice to protect everyone, about how my dad, the man who taught me to ride a bike and throw a baseball, wasn't my biological father. I stumbled backward, knocked into a picture frame on the wall. It crashed to the floor and the talking stopped. My mum came out of the bedroom with this look on her face, this terrible knowing look, and she knew that I knew. We stood there staring at each other for what felt like hours but was probably 10 seconds. Then I turned around and walked out. Didn't say a word. Got into my car and drove. I've been parked outside a gas station for the past 3 hours trying to process this. My phone keeps buzzing. 17 missed calls from my mum, 9 from my dad, 6 from my sister. I can't answer. I can't face them. Who is my real father? Why did she lie? Does my dad know? Has he known this whole time and just pretended? Or is he in the dark too? Every memory I have is contaminated now. Every birthday, every Christmas, every "I love you, son" feels like it might be built on a lie. The comments start rolling in. Thousands of them. People sharing their own DNA bombshells. People telling OP to get a test. People warning him that once you open this door, you can never close it. But one comment stands out. It's from someone claiming to be a private investigator. They tell OP something chilling. They say, "Before you confront anyone, you need to understand that this kind of secret doesn't exist in a vacuum. If your mother hid this, ask yourself what else she might be hiding." OP responds, says he's going to do the DNA test, says he needs to know the truth, even if it destroys him. 3 days pass. OP updates. The results came back. I took one of those ancestry DNA tests and paid extra for the rush processing. My hands were shaking so badly when I logged in to see the results that I almost couldn't type my password. The ethnicity breakdown loaded first. 50% Greek. That made sense. My mum's side is Greek, but the other 50% wasn't Irish and German like I'd been told my whole life. It was Italian and North African. Dad, the man I call Dad, is Irish and German, through and through. This confirmed it. He's not my biological father. But the real bomb dropped when I clicked on the DNA relatives section. There was a match. close family, predicted relationship, half-sibling, a woman named Maria, age 42. I'm 35, which means she's older than me, which means my biological father had another kid before I was born. I clicked on her profile with my heart hammering. She had a photo, dark curly hair, olive skin, a smile that looked familiar in a way that made my skin crawl. And then I saw it in her bio. She wrote, daughter of Antonio Marchesi, small business owner in Newark, New Jersey. I googled the name, found him immediately, Antonio Marchesi, owner of an Italian restaurant that's been in Newark for 40 years. I stared at his picture on the restaurant's website. It was like looking into a mirror. Same nose, same eyes, same exact dimple in the left cheek that I've had my whole life. The dimple my mum always said I got from her side of the family. Another lie. I sat there spiraling. Then I did something crazy. I got in my car and drove to Newark. 4 hours. Didn't tell anyone where I was going. Didn't make a plan. Just drove. The restaurant was called Marchesi's, red awning. Old school Italian place with checkered tablecloths visible through the window. I parked across the street and waited. For what, I didn't know. Then the door opened and he walked out. Antonio, my biological father. He was laughing with someone, gesturing with his hands the way I do when I tell stories. The way everyone always said was so animated and unlike anyone else in my family. Because it wasn't from my family. It was from him. I watched him get into a car and drive away. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. A knock on my window made me jump. A woman. The woman from the DNA website, Maria. She was standing there looking at me, with this expression of shock and recognition. I rolled down the window. She said, "You're him, aren't you?" "You're the match," I nodded. Couldn't speak. She opened the passenger door and got in without asking. We sat there in silence for a full minute. Then she said, "I've known about you for 6 months. Ever since I took the test, I've been trying to figure out if I should reach out, if you even knew." I told her everything, about overhearing my mum, about the test, about driving, here without thinking. She listened. When I finished, she took a deep breath. Then she said something that changed everything again. She said, "Our father doesn't know about you either." What? He had an affair with your mother 36 years ago when she came to Newark for a business conference. She worked for a pharmaceutical company. He was married. It lasted 3 weeks. Then she disappeared. Never told him she was pregnant. Never reached out. He stayed with his wife, with my mum. They're still together. She told me about him, about how he built the restaurant from nothing, how he worked 18-hour days, how he never missed one of her soccer games, even when he was exhausted, how he's a good man who made one mistake, and that mistake created me. She asked if I wanted to meet him. I said I didn't know, said I needed time. She gave me her number, told me to call when I was ready. Then she got out of the car and walked away. I drove home in a daze. When I got back, my phone had 63 missed calls. I finally answered when my dad called again. The man who raised me. He was crying. He said, "Please come home. We need to talk. Your mother told me everything." Everything. I didn't know, son. I swear to you I didn't know. I went to their house. My mum was sitting at the kitchen table, with red eyes and tissues everywhere. My dad was pacing. They both looked like they'd aged 10 years in 4 days. My mum started talking, started explaining. She said she and Dad had been trying to get pregnant for 3 years. Nothing worked. The doctors said it might never happen. She was depressed, desperate. Then she went to that conference in Newark, met Antonio at the hotel bar. One drink turned into 2, turned into 3 weeks of lying to herself about what she was doing. When she came home, she ended it, blocked his number, tried to forget. Then 6 weeks later, she found out she was pregnant. She knew it wasn't Dad's. The timing made it impossible. But she made a choice. She told Dad she was pregnant. Let him believe it was a miracle. Let him fall in love with the idea of being a father. And by the time I was born, she had convinced herself the lie was worth it. That keeping our family together was more important than the truth. My dad sat down across from me. His hands were shaking. He said, "When your mother told me the truth 3 days ago, I wanted to die. I wanted to rage and scream and throw things. But then I looked at the pictures on the wall, pictures of you and me at your first baseball game, your high school graduation, your wedding. And I realized something. Biology doesn't make you a father. Love does. Showing up does. I am your father. Not because of DNA, but because I chose you every single day for 35 years. I started crying, actually sobbing, because he was right. He was my dad. The man who stayed up with me when I had nightmares, who taught me how to shave, who walked me through my first breakup, who stood next to me at the altar when I got married. Blood doesn't erase that, but I also couldn't erase Antonio, couldn't pretend I didn't know, couldn't ignore the fact that I have a half-sister and a biological father who doesn't even know I exist. I told them about Maria, about Antonio, about the restaurant. My mum's face crumbled. She whispered, "I'm so sorry. I thought I was protecting everyone, but I just made it worse." I asked her if she ever thought about telling Antonio. She shook her head, said she was too afraid he'd want to be involved, afraid it would destroy his marriage, afraid it would destroy ours. Fear had kept the secret alive for 35 years. I left that night without any answers, just more questions. Should I tell Antonio? Do I have the right to blow up his life? Do I want a relationship with Maria? Can I forgive my mum? Can I move forward with my dad knowing what I know? 2 weeks went by. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My wife was worried. She kept asking me what I needed, but I didn't know. Then Maria texted me. She said, I told our father about you. He wants to meet you." My blood turned to ice. She made the choice for me. Part of me was furious. Part of me was relieved. She sent me his number, said he's waiting for my call. I stared at that number for 3 days. Finally I called. He answered on the second ring. His voice was deep, rough, emotional. He said, "I don't know what to say except I'm sorry. Sorry I didn't know. Sorry I wasn't there. Sorry you had to find out this way." I told him I wasn't ready to meet yet, that I needed time. He said he understood, said he'd wait as long as I needed. Then he said something that broke me. He said, "I look at pictures of you that Maria found online and I see myself. I see my father, I see my whole family, and I feel like I missed everything. Missed watching you grow up, missed being your dad. I know I have no right to that title. I know someone else earned it, but I want you to know that if you ever want to know where you came from, I'm here." We talked for an hour. He told me about his life, his restaurant, his family. He asked about mine, about my childhood, my job, my wife. It wasn't awkward, it was surreal, like talking to a stranger who somehow knows all your mannerisms, because they're his too. When we hung up, I sat in my car and cried. Not sad crying, not happy crying, just release. I updated Reddit that night, told them everything. The comments were split. Half said I should embrace Antonio, build a relationship, get to know where I came from. The other half said I owed him nothing, that he was a stranger, that the man who raised me was my real father, and that's all that mattered. But here's what I realised. They're both right. Dad will always be my father. The one who earned it, the one who showed up. But Antonio is part of me too. His DNA runs through my veins. His genetics shaped my face. And Maria is my sister. We share blood even if we didn't share a childhood. I don't have to choose. I can love them both. I can honour what Dad gave me while exploring where I came from. It's not betrayal. It's just complicated. That's what people don't understand about these situations. It's not black and white. It's not good guy, bad guy. It's just messy and human and painful and beautiful all at once. I met Antonio 3 months after that phone call. At his restaurant. Maria came too. We sat at a table in the back and ate pasta and talked for 4 hours. He cried. I cried. Maria cried. He told me about his parents, about how his father came to America with nothing and built a life, about how that work ethic was passed down, about how he sees it in me, even though we never met. I told him about Dad, about how he deserves respect, about how I won't let anyone diminish what he gave me. Antonio agreed, said he never wanted to replace anyone, just wanted to know me. We've met 5 times since then. It's still weird, still uncomfortable sometimes. But it's also good. I have a sister now. A whole side of the family I didn't know existed. Aunts and uncles and cousins who welcomed me with open arms. My mum struggled with it at first. Seeing me build a relationship with Antonio felt like punishment to her, like proof of her betrayal. But I told her the same thing I told everyone else. This isn't about blame, it's about truth. And truth is always better than lies, even when it hurts. Dad came with me to meet Antonio for the first time last month. That was the hardest thing I've ever witnessed. 2 men who loved the same woman at different times, who both helped create who I am in different ways. They shook hands. Antonio thanked Dad, told him he raised an incredible son, told him he was grateful. Dad said he was glad I found my roots, that knowing where you come from matters. They weren't friends. They'll never be friends. But they had respect, and that was enough. My wife asked me if I regret finding out, if I wish I never heard that phone call. I told her no, because living a lie isn't living, even if the truth is hard, even if it changes everything. The post went viral, millions of views, thousands of comments, people sharing their own stories of paternity secrets and family lies. People saying I inspired them to take DNA tests. People saying I made them appreciate the parents who raised them. But some comments were dark, warning me that I opened Pandora's box, that there might be more secrets, more lies, that my mum might have other things she's hiding. I didn't want to believe it, but the seed was planted. 6 months after my original post, I got a message on Facebook from a woman I didn't know. She said, "I think we need to talk. I think your mother knows my mother. I think they share a secret that involves you." My stomach dropped. I clicked on her profile. Her name was Rachel. She was 33, 2 years younger than me, and she looked exactly like my sister. My full sister, the one I grew up with. I called my sister immediately, asked her if she knew anyone named Rachel. She said no. Why? I sent her the photo, heard her gasp through the phone. She said, "That's not possible. That looks like me." I messaged Rachel back, asked her what she meant. She responded within minutes. She said, My mother told me on her deathbed last year that I had a half-sister, that she gave her up for adoption when she was 17, that she thinks about her every day, that her name was Catherine. That's my sister's name. Catherine. I felt like I was losing my mind. I called my mum, demanded she tell me the truth, all of it. No more secrets, no more lies. She broke down, admitted that Catherine was adopted, that she and Dad couldn't have kids at all, that before she met Antonio, she and Dad had been trying for years, that they adopted Catherine when she was 3 days old, that they never told her because they wanted her to feel fully theirs. Another lie, another secret, another bomb. I told Catherine that night. She didn't believe me at first, got angry, said I was making it up. But when I showed her the messages from Rachel, she went silent. Then she said, "Who am I? If you're not really my brother, and they're not really my parents, who am I?" I told her she's exactly who she's always been. That biology doesn't change love. The same thing Dad told me, but she didn't want to hear it. She called Mum and Dad, screamed at them, told them she felt betrayed, told them she needed space. Rachel and Catherine met 2 weeks later. It was like watching someone meet their mirror. Same face, same laugh, same gestures, same everything. Rachel told Catherine about their birth mother, about how she was young and scared and did what she thought was best, about how she spent her whole life wondering. Catherine cried, said she felt robbed of knowing her real family, robbed of her identity. But over time something shifted. She started to understand that our parents, as flawed as they were, loved her completely. That adoption wasn't rejection. It was love in a different form. The 4 of us had dinner last month. Me, Catherine, Maria, and Rachel. 4 siblings who didn't grow up together, but share blood in different ways. We talked about how messed up our family tree is, how it looks like a tangled web instead of a tree, how none of us had a normal origin story. But we also talked about how maybe normal is overrated, how the families we build matter just as much as the families we're born into, how secrets destroy, but truth heals even when it scars. Mum and Dad are in therapy now, trying to work through the guilt and the lies, trying to understand why they thought hiding the truth was protecting us when really it was protecting themselves. I forgive them. Catherine is still working on it. But we're all moving forward. I still see Antonio, still have Sunday dinners with Maria, still call Dad every Wednesday to talk about sports, still help Mum with her garden. It's messy, it's complicated, but it's real. And real is all that matters. The final update came a year after the original post. OP wrote, "A lot of people have asked me if I'm angry, if I resent my parents for lying, if I wish I never found out. The truth is I'm not angry anymore. I was furious and hurt and confused. But anger is exhausting, and it doesn't change anything. What I am is grateful. Grateful that I know the truth. Grateful for the family I gained. Grateful for the family I always had. Grateful that I get to write my own story now, instead of living in someone else's lies. If there's one thing I want people to take from this, it's that secrets always come out. Always. You can bury them deep. You can lie for decades, but DNA doesn't lie. Technology doesn't forget. And the truth has a way of surfacing. So tell the truth, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, because the temporary pain of honesty is nothing compared to the permanent damage of lies. I'm standing in my kitchen right now, watching Dad teach my son how to make his famous spaghetti sauce. Antonio is coming over later to share his recipe too. My son will grow up knowing both of them, knowing exactly where he comes from. No secrets, no lies, just love in all its complicated, messy, beautiful forms. That's the legacy I want to leave. Not perfection, just truth. The comments on that final update were overwhelming. People crying, people thanking OP for sharing, people saying they were going to have hard conversations with their own families. One comment stuck with me. It said, "You didn't just find your biological father. You found yourself." And that's what this whole thing is about, isn't it? Finding ourselves, understanding where we come from, making peace with the truth. Because we can't know where we're going if we don't know where we've been. But that story is just the beginning. Because Reddit is full of these nuclear family secrets. Stories that make you realize your own family drama is tame. Stories that prove truth is stranger than fiction. Let me tell you about another one. This user calls themselves Throwaway Daughter. Her post title reads, "I just found out why my parents really got divorced, and I wish I never knew." She starts, "My parents split when I was 12. It was amicable. They said they grew apart. They stayed friends. They co-parented beautifully. I never felt like a child of divorce. I felt lucky. Both houses, both parents present. No fighting, no drama. Everyone told me how mature my parents were, how they put me first. I believed it. For 15 years I believed it. Then last week I was helping my mum clean out her attic. We were going through old boxes, photos, documents, normal stuff. Then I found a folder labelled Legal Documents. Inside was the divorce decree. I'd never actually seen it. Never needed to. But curiosity got the best of me. I opened it, read through the standard legal language. Then I got to the section labelled Grounds for Divorce. It said, irreconcilable differences due to husband's repeated infidelity, including ongoing affair with wife's sister. I read it 3 times, didn't process it. Husband's affair with wife's sister. My dad, my aunt, my mum's younger sister, who I've known my whole life, who came to every birthday party, every graduation, every holiday, who I called for advice about boys, who I trusted. I confronted my mum right there in the attic. She went pale, started shaking. Then she told me everything. She found out about the affair 6 months before the divorce. Walked in on them at Aunt Lisa's apartment. She'd gone there to surprise her sister with lunch. Instead, she found her husband in her sister's bed. The betrayal was double. Her partner and her blood. She left, filed for divorce, but she made a choice. She decided not to tell me, not to poison my relationship with either of them. She wanted me to love my dad without knowing what he did. She wanted me to have my aunt without the burden of her betrayal. So she lied, told everyone they grew apart, made nice at drop-offs, smiled through holidays, watched me hug the woman who destroyed her marriage, and said nothing. For 15 years. I asked her how. How did you stand it? She said, because you needed them, and my pain was less important than your happiness. I didn't know what to do with that. Part of me understood. Part of me was furious. She robbed me of the truth, let me love people who didn't deserve it. I called my dad, asked him straight out if he cheated on Mum with Aunt Lisa. Long silence. Then, yes. Who told you? I lost it, screamed at him, asked him how he could do that, how he could let me worship him knowing what he did. He said he wasn't proud of it, said it was the biggest mistake of his life, said he and Lisa ended things the day Mum found out, said they agreed to never speak of it again, Said Mum insisted on keeping it from me. I asked if he loved Lisa. He said he didn't know. Said it was complicated. I hung up. Then I called Lisa. She answered cheerfully. "Hey, sweetie, what's up?" I said. "I know about you and Dad." The line went dead quiet. Then she started crying, started apologizing, started explaining. She said she was young and stupid, that she was 23 when it started, that Dad was going through a rough patch with Mum, that he confided in her, that one night turned into more, that she knew it was wrong but couldn't stop, that when Mum found out Lisa wanted to tell me, but Mum forbade it, said it would destroy me. So Lisa stayed away for a few months, then slowly came back into my life, pretended nothing happened, became my favourite aunt while carrying the weight of what she'd done. I told her I never wanted to see her again. She begged me not to do that, said she loved me, said she'd spent 15 years trying to make up for it by being the best aunt she could be. I said it didn't matter. That love built on lies isn't real love. I haven't spoken to any of them in a week. My phone is full of messages, voicemails, texts, everyone begging me to understand, to forgive, to move on. But how do you move on from that? How do you look at your father the same way? How do you hug your aunt knowing she betrayed your mother? How do you trust anyone when the 3 people closest to you conspired to lie to you for 15 years? The comments were split again. Some said OP's mum was a saint who protected her. Others said she had a right to know. Others said everyone was wrong. One comment said, "Your mum made a sacrifice you can't understand until you're a parent. She chose your innocence over her vindication. That's love." Another said, "They treated you like a child who couldn't handle the truth. Even when you became an adult, that's not love. That's control." OP updated a month later. She wrote, "I've been in therapy, trying to process everything. My therapist asked me a question that changed my perspective. She asked, if your mum had told you when you were 12, what would have happened? I thought about it, really thought about it, and I realised I would have hated my dad. I would have refused to see him. I would have cut Aunt Lisa out completely. My teenage years would have been filled with anger and resentment instead of love and stability. My mum knew that. She sacrificed her own need for justice to give me a normal childhood. And that's not nothing. I called her, apologised for the things I said, told her I understood even if I didn't agree with her choice. She cried, said she'd do it all again, said protecting me was worth the pain. I'm still not ready to talk to Dad or Lisa. Maybe I never will be. But I'm starting to understand that people are complicated, that mistakes don't define everyone, that forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. I don't know what my relationship with them will look like moving forward, but I know I can't hold on to anger forever. It's too heavy. The story ended there, but the comments kept coming. Thousands of people sharing similar stories, affairs, betrayals, lies told to protect children. And it made me realise something. Every family has secrets. Some are small, some are nuclear, but they're there, buried under years of normalcy, waiting to surface. Here's another one, posted by a user named Confused Son. Title, "My brother isn't my brother, and my parents knew the whole time." He writes, "I'm shaking as I type this. I just got off the phone with my parents and my entire reality is fractured. Here's the background. I'm 28. My brother Jake is 30. We've always been close. Best friends. We look alike. Same dark hair, same green eyes, same build. Everyone always comments on how we're clearly brothers. Apparently, they were all wrong. Last month, Jake got into a bad car accident. Needed surgery, needed blood. Our blood types are both O positive, so I offered to donate. Standard procedure. They took my blood, ran tests. Then a doctor pulled me aside. He looked uncomfortable. He said, "I need to ask you something. Are you and the patient biological brothers?" I said yes, obviously. He said, "The tests show that's not possible. You don't share enough genetic markers. You're not full siblings." I thought he made a mistake. Told him to run it again. He did. Same result. I went home and ordered a DNA test. One for me, one for Jake. When the results came back, we weren't brothers at all. Not even half brothers. No shared DNA. I called my parents, demanded an explanation. My dad answered. I said, "Jake and I aren't related. Want to tell me why?" I heard him sigh. A long, exhausted sigh. Then he said, "We need to talk in person." I drove to their house. My mum was crying before I even sat down. And then they told me the truth. Jake isn't their biological son. He's adopted. They adopted him when he was 2 days old. I was born 2 years later. They never told him, never told me, raised us as full brothers, let us believe we shared blood. Why? Why would they lie? My mum said, because it didn't matter. He was our son. You were our son. You were brothers in every way that counted. We didn't want him to feel different. Didn't want him to feel less than. So we just didn't tell anyone. Not even family. We moved to a new city before Jake was born. Started fresh. No one knew except us. I asked if they were ever going to tell us. My dad said they didn't know. Said they kept putting it off. Said the longer they waited, the harder it got. Said they were hoping it would never come up. But it did. And now I have to tell Jake. I have to tell my brother, the person I've been closest to my entire life, that we're not actually related. That he's adopted. That our parents lied to him for 30 years. I don't know how. The comments told him he had to tell Jake, that Jake deserved to know, that keeping it secret would make it worse. OP updated 2 days later. He wrote, "I told Jake. We met at a bar. I ordered 2 beers and then I just said it. I said, 'You're adopted.' He laughed. Thought I was joking. When he realised I wasn't, he went silent, stared at me, then said, 'What are you talking about?' I explained everything. The blood tests, the DNA results, the conversation with Mum and Dad. He sat there processing. Then he stood up and walked out, didn't say a word, just left. I tried calling him, texting, nothing. 3 days of silence. Then he finally called. He said, 'I don't know who I am. If I'm not your brother, then who am I?' I told him he's still my brother. That biology doesn't change 30 years of memories, of growing up together, of being there for each other. He said it felt like a lie, like everything was fake. I understood. Because I felt it too. Even though I know I'm my parents' biological son, it still feels like my family is different now. Like we're not the unit I thought we were. Jake finally agreed to talk to Mum and Dad. That conversation was brutal. He asked why they never told him. Mum said she was scared. Scared he'd want to find his birth parents. Scared he'd feel abandoned. Scared he'd leave them. Jake said, "So you lied to me for 30 years because you were scared? That's not love. That's selfishness." Dad tried to defend her. Said they did what they thought was best. Jake said, "Best for who? For me? Or for you?" He demanded information about his birth parents. Mum said it was a closed adoption, that she didn't know anything. Jake didn't believe her. He hired a lawyer. opened the adoption records, found out his birth mother was 16 when she had him, found out she's still alive, lives 3 hours away. He reached out. She agreed to meet. I went with him. Moral support. She was nervous, small, looked young for her age. She kept apologizing, kept saying she was so sorry, kept saying she thought about him every day. Jake asked why she gave him up. She said she was a kid, scared, alone. Her parents kicked her out. She had nowhere to go. The adoption agency promised he'd have a good life. She thought she was doing the right thing. Jake asked if she ever tried to find him. She said no, said the adoption was closed, said she didn't think he'd want to know her. They talked for 2 hours. When we left, Jake was quiet. I asked how he felt. He said, "I don't know. She's my mother, but she's also a stranger. Mum and Dad raised me, but they lied to me. I don't know where I belong." That was 3 months ago. Jake and I are still close. Still brothers, even if we don't share DNA. But things are different. There's a weight to our relationship now. A knowledge that what we thought was solid was actually fragile. He sees his birth mother once a month. They're building a relationship slowly. He's still angry at Mum and Dad, still processing, still figuring out who he is. And I'm figuring it out too, figuring out what it means to be a family when the foundation you built it on was a lie. The comments are overwhelming. People sharing adoption stories, people debating whether parents should tell kids they're adopted, people saying Jake's pain was valid, people saying Mum and Dad were trying their best. But here's what stuck with me. One comment said, "The truth always comes out. Medical emergencies, DNA tests, deathbed confessions. Secrets can't stay buried forever. And when they surface, they don't just affect one person. They ripple through everyone. That's the thing about family secrets. They're never isolated. They touch everyone, change everyone. And once you know, you can't unknow. You have to live with the truth, even when the lie was easier." Let me tell you one more. This one is from a user named Shattered Daughter. Title: I found out my dad had another family, and they didn't know about us either. She writes, "I thought I had a normal childhood. Dad worked a lot, travelled for business. Mum held down the fort. We had dinner together when he was home. He coached my soccer team, came to recitals. He was a good dad, busy but present. Then he died. Heart attack. Sudden. Devastating. We were planning the funeral when a woman showed up at our house. She was crying. She said, 'I'm so sorry for your loss. Our loss. I'm his wife.' My mum looked at her like she was insane. She said, 'Excuse me?' The woman, her name was Diane, pulled out documents, a marriage certificate, dated 3 years after my parents got married. Photos of her and Dad. Photos of Dad with 2 kids I'd never seen before. She said, 'He told me he travelled for work, that he was gone 2 weeks every month. I didn't know. I didn't know about you.' My mum collapsed, literally fell to the floor. I stood there frozen, trying to process. My dad had 2 families, 2 wives, 2 sets of children. For 20 years he ping-ponged between us, lied to everyone, built entire separate lives. Diane's kids were teenagers, 16 and 14, close to my age. They didn't know about us either. Dad had spun such an elaborate web of lies that no one suspected. He had 2 phones, 2 addresses, 2 completely different identities. The fallout was catastrophic. Mum had a breakdown, couldn't function. I had to plan the funeral while dealing with my own grief and rage. Diane wanted to come to the service, wanted her kids to say goodbye. Mum refused, said she wouldn't share his funeral the way she'd unknowingly shared his life. They had a separate service, 2 funerals, for one man. I met Diane's kids afterward. They were as devastated as I was. We compared stories, realised Dad told us the same lies, same excuses for why he was gone, same promises that he'd be around more, same I love yous before he left. We were all victims of his deception. The will was a nightmare. Everything was in my mum's name legally. Diane had no claim. But morally, it was a mess. Mum decided to split everything with her. Said it wasn't Diane's fault. Said the kids didn't deserve to suffer because of de retire continued choices. Diane cried, thanked her, said she never wanted any of this. The 2 families tried to connect, tried to make sense of the wreckage Dad left behind. But it was too painful, too awkward. We were siblings, but also strangers, bound by a father who betrayed us all. I started digging into his life, trying to understand how he pulled it off. Found spreadsheets, calendars, alibis planned months in advance. He'd created fake business trips, fake conferences, fake emergencies. He was meticulous, calculated. Everything we thought was spontaneous was actually orchestrated. The man I loved never existed. He was a character my dad played. I found his journal 6 months after he died, hidden in a storage unit Mum didn't know about. In it, he wrote about the guilt, about how he loved both families, about how he couldn't choose, so he chose both, about how every day was a tightrope walk between 2 worlds. He wrote, I know what I'm doing is wrong, but I can't stop. I can't hurt them by leaving. I can't destroy what I've built, so I keep going, keep lying, keep hoping I die before the truth comes out. He got his wish. He died with his secrets intact. We're the ones left picking up the pieces. Mum never recovered. She divorced him posthumously, if that's even possible. Changed her name back. Erased him from her life. I tried to have a relationship with my half-siblings. Met with them a few times. But it hurt too much. Every time I looked at them I saw his lies. Saw proof that I wasn't enough. That our family wasn't enough. The last time I saw them was 2 years ago. The oldest, Marcus, asked me if I hated Dad. I said yes. He said he did too. Then he said, but I also miss him. And that's the part I can't reconcile. I understood. Because I felt it too. Hated him and missed him in equal measure. Grieved the father I thought I had, while despising the man he actually was. The comments on that post were dark. People sharing stories of parents with double lives, secret families, hidden children, affairs that lasted decades. One person wrote, "These stories are more common than people think." Technology makes it harder now, but before cell phones and social media, people got away with it all the time. Another wrote, "The cruelest part isn't the cheating, it's the premeditation. These aren't mistakes. These are choices made over and over again for years. And they were right. These weren't accidents. These were calculated betrayals. Sustained lies that required effort and planning. That's what makes them so devastating. But here's what really gets me. In every one of these stories, the person telling it says the same thing. They say, I thought I knew them. I thought I knew my family. I thought I knew my life. And then the truth came out. And I realised I didn't know anything. That's the real trauma. Not just the betrayal, but the loss of certainty. The realisation that everything you believed was built on sand. Your memories are tainted. Your identity is questioned. Your ability to trust is shattered. Because if the people closest to you could lie about something this big, what else don't you know? What else is false? It's the not knowing that haunts you, the wondering if there are more secrets, more lies, more bombs waiting to explode. Let me tell you about another post. This one from a user called Broken Trust Dad. Title: I did a paternity test as a joke, and now my marriage is over. He writes, my buddies and I were hanging out drinking beer when someone brought up one of those DNA ancestry kits. We all decided to do it for fun, see where we came from, compare results. I ordered mine that night, forgot about it until the kit arrived, swabbed my cheek, sent it back. A few weeks later, I got an email saying my results were ready. I logged in expecting to see I was mostly European like I thought. Instead, I saw something else. A genetic relative match, close family, predicted relationship, daughter. I don't have a daughter. I have 3 sons. The oldest is 15. The match said the girl was 14. My blood went cold. I clicked on her profile. Her name was Emma. There was a photo. She had my eyes, my nose, my smile. I sat there staring at her face, seeing myself reflected back. Then I did the math. 14 years ago, I was engaged to my wife Sarah. We'd been together 5 years, planning our wedding. I'd never cheated, never even thought about it. But there was one night, one bachelor party where things got out of hand. I woke up in a hotel room with someone, a woman from the party. I barely remembered her face. I was so drunk everything was blurry. I felt sick about it immediately. Told myself it was a mistake, a one-time thing. I never told Sarah, never saw the woman again. Never thought about it. Until now. I messaged Emma's profile, asked if her mother's name was Jennifer. She responded, yes. How do you know my mum? I didn't answer. I found Jennifer on social media instead. Sent her a message. Said we needed to talk. She called me within minutes. She said, I wondered if you'd ever find out. I asked why she never told me. She said, you were getting married. I was just a bartender who made a bad choice at a bachelor party. I didn't want to ruin your life, so I raised Emma alone. Never asked for money, never reached out. Figured you didn't deserve to be burdened with a mistake. I said, she's not a mistake, she's my daughter. Jennifer went quiet. Then she said, what do you want to do about it? I didn't know. I had a wife, 3 kids, a life that didn't include a secret teenage daughter. But I also had this girl out there who was mine and didn't know I existed. I told Sarah that night, sat her down and explained everything. The test, the match, the woman from the bachelor party, the daughter. She looked at me like I was a stranger. Then she said, you've had a daughter for 14 years and didn't know. I said, I didn't know, I swear. She said, but you knew you slept with someone. You knew you cheated and you never told me. You let me marry you, have kids with you, build a life with you, all while hiding that. I tried to explain, tried to say I was drunk, that it didn't mean anything, that I thought it didn't matter if I never saw her again. Sarah said, it mattered, it always mattered. You just didn't care enough to tell me. She asked me to leave. I moved into a hotel. She filed for divorce within a week. Said she couldn't trust me anymore. That if I hid this, what else was I hiding? I tried to fight it. Tried to explain that I wanted to make it right. She said, you can't make it right. You can't undo 14 years of lies. You can't erase the fact that you have a child with someone else. A child you conceived right before our wedding. That's not something I can forgive. The divorce was brutal. She got primary custody of the boys. I got every other weekend. They asked why we were splitting up. Sarah told them the truth. Told them they have a half-sister. Told them their dad cheated and lied. My oldest won't talk to me anymore. Says I destroyed our family. The younger two are confused, hurt, angry. Meanwhile, I'm trying to build a relationship with Emma. We met for coffee. She was nervous. Asked me why I never tried to find her. I told her I didn't know she existed. She didn't believe me at first. Thought I abandoned her. But over time, we started talking. Started getting to know each other. She's smart, funny, talented artist. She looks so much like me, it's uncanny. And every time I see her, I feel this mix of love and regret. Love because she's my daughter. Regret because I missed everything. Her first steps, first words, first day of school, all the moments I had with my sons, I didn't have with her. And it's my fault. Jennifer has been gracious. Let me into Emma's life slowly. Doesn't ask for money even though I insist on helping. Says she managed this long without me. But I want to be there now. Want to make up for lost time even though I know I can't. My ex-wife won't let the boys meet Emma. Says it's too confusing, too painful. Says I need to focus on repairing my relationship with them before adding more kids to the mix. She's right, but it hurts. I have 4 kids now, and they're all separate, all living different lives, all affected by my choices. The comments on that post were harsh. People saying he deserved it, that he should have told Sarah before they got married, that cheating has consequences. Others were more sympathetic, said mistakes happen, that he was doing the right thing now by stepping up for Emma. One comment stuck out. It said, "You didn't lose your marriage because of a DNA test. You lost it because of a choice you made 14 years ago. The test just revealed it." And that's true. The secret was always there, waiting. The DNA test just dragged it into the light. But here's the thing about these revelations. They don't just affect the person who did wrong. They ripple out, touch everyone. Sarah didn't do anything wrong, but her life is upended. The boys didn't do anything wrong, but their family's broken. Emma didn't do anything wrong, but she's caught in the middle. One bad choice, one drunken night, and dozens of lives changed forever. That's the weight of secrets. They don't just hide the truth. They multiply the damage when they finally surface, and they always surface. Always. Whether it's a DNA test or a deathbed confession, or someone's slip of the tongue, the truth comes out. Here's one more that'll make your blood run cold. Posted by a user named Haunted by the Past. Title, "My grandmother confessed something on her deathbed, and now I can't look at my family the same way." She writes, "My grandmother was dying. Cancer. Hospice. The whole family gathered to say goodbye. We took turns sitting with her, holding her hand, telling her we loved her. I was there alone with her on her last night. She was in and out of consciousness, barely lucid. Then she opened her eyes and looked right at me. She said, 'I need to tell you something I should have said 50 years ago.' I leaned in close. She took a rattling breath. Then she said, 'Your grandfather didn't die in a car accident. I killed him.' My heart stopped. I thought I misheard. I said, 'What?' She said, 'He was a monster. He hurt me. He hurt your mother. He hurt your aunt. For years.' I couldn't take it anymore. So one night, I put something in his drink. He went to sleep and never woke up. I made it look like an accident. Drove his car into a tree. The police never questioned it. Everyone believed he crashed. Everyone mourned him. But I didn't. I was free." She closed her eyes, said, "I'm not sorry. I'd do it again." Then she died right there. Those were her last words. I sat there in shock, couldn't move, couldn't process. My grandfather, who I never met because he died before I was born, was murdered by my grandmother. And she'd carried that secret for 5 decades. I didn't tell anyone at first. We planned the funeral, buried her. Everyone talked about what a saint she was, how strong, how resilient, how she raised 2 daughters alone after losing her husband. If only they knew. But her words haunted me. He hurt me. He hurt your mother. He hurt your aunt. What did that mean? I asked my mum. Told her I needed to know about Grandpa, about what he was really like. She got quiet. Then she said, "Why are you asking?" I told her about Grandma's confession, about the murder, about the accusations. My mum started crying, deep, painful sobs. Then she told me that Grandpa molested her. Started when she was 6, continued until he died when she was 15. She never told anyone because he threatened to kill Grandma if she did. Aunt Linda went through the same thing. They suffered in silence for years, praying for it to stop. Then one day it did. He was just gone. They were told he crashed his car. They didn't question it. They were just grateful he was dead. Mum said she suspected Grandma knew, suspected she figured it out. But they never talked about it. Just moved forward, tried to heal. Now I understood. Grandma wasn't a murderer. She was a protector. She did what she had to do to save her daughters. But she carried the guilt and the secret for 50 years. Died without ever telling anyone except me. I don't know what to do with this information. Do I tell the rest of the family? Do I let them keep thinking Grandpa was a good man who died tragically? Or do I shatter their illusions with the truth? Mum said to let it go. Said it doesn't matter anymore. Said everyone involved is dead. Said there's no point in dragging it up. But I can't let it go, because it does matter. It matters that Grandma lived with that burden. It matters that Mum and Aunt Linda survived something horrific. It matters that the family narrative is built on lies. At the same time, I understand why Mum wants it buried, why she doesn't want people to know, why she wants to protect Grandma's memory and her own privacy. So I'm stuck knowing something I wish I didn't, carrying a secret that isn't mine to tell. The comments were split. Some said OP should tell the truth, that Grandma was a hero who deserved recognition. Others said she should respect her mum's wishes, that some secrets should stay buried. One comment said, "Sometimes secrets protect the living, not the dead. If your mum doesn't want it told, then don't tell it." Another said, "Your grandmother gave you that information for a reason. Maybe she wanted the truth known. Maybe she was tired of hiding." And that's the question, isn't it? What do you do when someone hands you their darkest secret? When they die and leave you holding the weight of their confession? Do you honour their truth by sharing it? Or do you honour their silence by keeping it? There's no right answer, just impossible choices. These stories keep me up at night because they're real, because they could happen to anyone, because every family has something lurking beneath the surface. Maybe it's not as dramatic as murder or secret children. Maybe it's just small lies that compound over time. But it's there. And the question is always the same. Is it better to know? Or is ignorance actually bliss? I used to think truth was always better. That honesty was the only policy. That secrets were inherently bad. But after reading thousands of these stories, I'm not so sure anymore. Because sometimes the truth destroys more than it heals. Sometimes knowing tears apart families that were functioning fine in their ignorance. Sometimes the lie is kinder than reality, but then I think about the people who found out, who had their worlds shattered, and I see how they eventually rebuild, how they process and heal and move forward, how the truth, as painful as it is, gives them solid ground to stand on. Because you can't build a real life on a foundation of lies. Eventually it crumbles. Eventually the weight of the secret becomes too much. Eventually someone takes a DNA test or finds a document or makes a deathbed confession. And then everything falls apart anyway. So maybe the truth is better, not because it's easier, but because it's inevitable. Here's one last story that encapsulates everything, posted by a user named Starting Over. Title: I inherited my late husband's phone and found out everything was a lie. She writes, my husband died suddenly, heart attack at 42. No warning, healthy one day, gone the next. I was destroyed. We'd been married 12 years, together for 15. He was my everything. Best friend, partner, father to our 2 kids. I thought we had the perfect marriage. Everyone did. We never fought. We laughed constantly. We finished each other's sentences. We were that couple everyone wanted to be. After he died, I had to go through his things, his clothes, his papers, his phone. The phone was locked. I didn't know his passcode. I tried our anniversary, his birthday, the kids' birthdays. Nothing worked. I took it to a tech guy, explained the situation. He unlocked it for me. I opened it expecting to see normal stuff. Work emails, photos of the kids. Instead, I found a second messaging app. Hidden. Password protected. The tech guy opened that too. Inside were conversations with dozens of women. Years of conversations. Hookups. Affairs. Explicit photos. Plans to meet at hotels. I sat in my car in the parking lot reading through messages and watched my marriage disintegrate in real time. He'd been cheating our entire relationship. Before we were married. After. While I was pregnant. While I was home with newborns. Constantly. Systematically. With co-workers. With random women from apps. With people I knew. There were messages from 3 weeks before he died. A woman asking when he could see her again. Him saying he'd figure it out. Saying he missed her. Saying he couldn't wait to touch her. I threw up right there in the car. Then I kept reading. Couldn't stop. Had to know everything. Found out he had another child. A 7-year-old son in another state. The mother sent photos. Sent messages asking for child support. He'd been sending money for years. Money from our joint account that I thought went to business expenses. Found out he told these women he wasn't married, that he was single, that he travelled for work. All lies. He was married. He had kids. He had a whole life he was hiding. I found messages where he complained about me. Said I was boring. Said the spark was gone. Said he stayed for the kids. All while telling me he loved me. All while kissing me goodbye every morning. All while playing happy family. I confronted this truth alone. Couldn't tell anyone. Because he was dead. Because everyone was mourning him. Because his funeral was in 3 days. I stood at that funeral listening to people talk about what a great man he was. What a devoted husband. What a loving father. And I wanted to scream. Wanted to tell them the truth. That he was a liar and a cheater and a fraud. But I didn't. I smiled and nodded and accepted condolences. Played the grieving widow. Because what else could I do? The kids were devastated. They'd lost their hero. I couldn't take that from them. Couldn't tell them Daddy wasn't who they thought. So I carried it alone. Carried the truth that destroyed me while pretending everything was fine. I contacted some of the women, asked them what they knew. Most had no idea he was married. They were victims too, lied to, used, discarded. One woman did know. She'd been seeing him for 4 years. She sent me a message saying, "I'm sorry for your loss, but I lost him too. I loved him. You don't get to be the only one who mourns." I told her to never contact me again. Then I found the woman with his son. Her name was Michelle. I called her. She answered cautiously. I said, "I'm the wife." She went silent. Then she said, "I didn't know about you until it was too late." He told me he was divorced. By the time I found out the truth, I was already pregnant. He begged me not to tell you, said it would destroy his family. So I agreed to keep quiet if he supported our son. I asked if she loved him. She said yes, said she still did, said she was mourning too. We were both widows to the same man. 2 families, 2 sets of children, one massive web of lies. I told my best friend eventually. Couldn't carry it alone anymore. She was horrified, said I should tell everyone, should expose him, should make sure people knew the truth, but I couldn't. Because my kids didn't deserve that, didn't deserve to have their father's memory destroyed, didn't deserve to grow up knowing he was a cheat. So I kept quiet, let them believe the lie, let them mourn their hero, and I mourned alone. Mourned the man I thought I married who never actually existed. It's been 2 years now. The kids are healing. I'm not. I don't know if I ever will. Because my entire adult life was a lie. The man I loved was a character he played. Every I love you was fake. Every moment of intimacy was tainted. Every memory is poison now. I've been in therapy, trying to process, trying to rebuild. But how do you trust again after that? How do you believe anyone when the person you trusted most betrayed you in every possible way? The therapist says I need to forgive him. That holding on to anger will destroy me, but I can't forgive him. He's not here to apologize, not here to explain, not here to face consequences. He died and left me with all of this, left me to clean up his mess, left me to carry his secrets. And that's the cruelest part. I can't even confront him, can't scream at him, can't demand answers. He's just gone. And I'm here drowning in the truth. The comments on that post were overwhelming. Thousands of people expressing sympathy, sharing similar stories of discovering infidelity after death, offering advice on how to move forward. One comment said, "He didn't deserve your love, but you deserve to heal." Another said, "Don't let his lies define the rest of your life. You get to write the next chapter." And that's where I want to end this, because that's the message in all of these stories. You can't control what other people do, can't control their lies, their secrets, their betrayals, but you can control how you respond. Whether you let it destroy you, or whether you use it to rebuild. These Reddit stories are devastating. They're painful. They're proof that people are capable of incredible deception, but they're also proof of something else. Resilience, the ability to survive, the strength to keep going even when everything falls apart. Every single person who posted these stories made a choice. They chose to seek support, to share their pain, to process their trauma. They chose to keep living even when the truth tried to break them. And that's the real story, not the secrets, not the lies, but the survival, the ability to look at the wreckage of your life and decide to build something new. So if you're listening to this and you're carrying a secret, or you just discovered one, or you're afraid of what you might find, if you dig deeper. Remember this: the truth hurts, but lies hurt more. The truth is sharp and immediate, but lies are slow poison. The truth tears everything apart, but lies prevent anything real from growing. And you deserve real. You deserve relationships built on honesty. You deserve to know who you are and where you come from. You deserve the foundation of truth, even if it's painful. Because life is too short to live in someone else's fiction. Too precious to waste on people who lie to your face. Too valuable to build on sand. These stories are cautionary tales, warnings about what happens when we choose comfort over truth, when we lie to protect feelings, when we keep secrets because we're scared. They show us the damage that compounds over time. The way one lie becomes 10 becomes 100. The way secrets metastasize until they're terminal. But they also show us the way forward, through the pain, through the anger, through the grief, to the other side where the air is clearer and the ground is solid, where you know exactly who you are and who everyone else is, where there are no more shoes waiting to drop. That's freedom. That's peace. That's what truth gives you eventually. Not immediately, not painlessly, but eventually. So thank you for watching this deep dive into Reddit's most devastating family secrets. If any of these stories resonated with you, drop a comment below. If you're going through something similar, know that you're not alone. Millions of people discover these kinds of truths every year, and most of them survive, most of them rebuild, most of them find happiness again. You will too. It just takes time. Remember to like this video and subscribe for more real stories from real people navigating impossible situations. And remember that whatever you're going through, whatever secret you're carrying, whatever truth you're facing, you're stronger than you think. You can handle this. You will handle this. And on the other side, you'll be more authentically yourself than ever before. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Retry, continue. The unforgiving truth. More stories that will change. How you see your family. Let me tell you about another post that shook the entire Reddit community, posted by someone called Torn Apart Mom. Title: My son's teacher called me in for a meeting, and what she told me destroyed my marriage in 5 minutes. She starts typing and you can feel the panic. Yesterday I got a call from my son's kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Patterson, sweet woman. Been teaching for 20 years. She said we needed to talk, said it was urgent, said it couldn't wait. I drove to the school thinking maybe he got in a fight, maybe he's struggling with reading, normal parent stuff. I walk into her classroom and she closes the door, sits me down, and the look on her face tells me this isn't about academics. She pulls out a piece of paper, a drawing my son made during free time. It's a picture of our family. Stick figures, mom, dad, and him. Normal kindergarten art. Then she points to something I didn't notice at first. In the corner of the paper, my son wrote words. Spelled wrong, but readable. He wrote, "Daddy has another house, another mommy, another boy." Mrs. Patterson looks at me with such pity in her eyes. She says, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Is there something going on at home? Does your husband have another family?" I laughed. Actually laughed. Said, "No, that's ridiculous. Kids have wild imaginations. She's reading too much into a drawing." But she didn't laugh. She pulled out more drawings, more papers, all with similar themes. A house with 2 doors, 2 mommies, 2 families. And in one drawing, my son wrote, "I have a brother, but mommy doesn't know." My stomach dropped. Mrs. Patterson said, "I've been teaching long enough to know when a child is processing something real versus something imaginary. This feels real. I need you to look into this." I drove home in a fog. Couldn't think straight. Couldn't process. My husband Mark works in sales, travels 3 days a week, has for years. I never questioned it, never suspected anything. We've been married 8 years, together for 10. He's attentive, loving, present when he's home. But now I'm thinking about those 3 days a week, about how he's always vague about where he stays, about how he never invites me to come along. I waited for him to get home from his trip, confronted him the second he walked through the door. I held up the drawing and said, "Want to explain this?" His face went white, completely drained of colour, and I knew before he said a word. He tried to lie at first, said our son must have overheard something on TV. Must be confused. But I kept pushing, kept demanding the truth. Finally he broke, sat down on the couch and put his head in his hands. Then he said, "Her name is Rachel. We've been together for 6 years. I have a son with her. He's 4. I couldn't breathe, couldn't hear anything except ringing in my ears. 6 years, half of our marriage. Our son is 5, which means Mark was with her before our son was even born." I asked how. How did he manage this? He explained it all. The sales job is real, but he manipulated his territory. Made it so he had to be in the same city 3 days a week. The city where Rachel lives, where his other son lives. He'd go there every week, play dad to them, then come home and play dad to us. 2 lives running parallel, neither of us knowing about the other. I asked if Rachel knew about me. He nodded, said she found out 2 years ago, found a picture of me and our son on his phone. He told her the truth. She was devastated, threatened to leave, but he convinced her to stay. Told her he'd leave me eventually, just needed time. He'd been telling her that for 2 years, stringing her along, lying to both of us. I told him to get out. He tried to apologise, tried to explain that he loved both of us, that he couldn't choose, that he thought he could make it work. I screamed at him, told him he was delusional, told him he destroyed 2 families with his selfishness. He left. I sat on the floor and cried for hours. Then I did something crazy. I found Rachel on social media, sent her a message, said, "We need to talk." She responded immediately, said, "I know who you are, I'm so sorry." We met the next day at a coffee shop. It was surreal, sitting across from the woman my husband had been building a life with. She looked exhausted, worn down. She said, "I didn't know about you at first. He told me he was divorced, that his ex-wife had primary custody of his son. That's why he could only see him on weekends. I believed him for 3 years. Then I found the picture, confronted him, and he admitted everything. I asked why she stayed. She said, "Because I loved him, because we had a son together, because he promised he'd fix it, because I was stupid enough to believe him." We compared notes, realised he'd been lying to both of us about everything, telling me he was at sales conferences, telling her he was visiting his son from his first marriage, creating elaborate cover stories for every occasion. Rachel said, "He told me your marriage was dead, that you barely talked, that he stayed for your son." I told her, "He told me our marriage was perfect, that I was his soulmate, that he'd never been happier. We were both props in his fantasy, both playing roles we didn't know existed." Rachel asked what I was going to do. I said, "Divorce him, take him for everything, make sure he regrets this for the rest of his life." She said, "I'm leaving him too. Our sons deserve better than a father who treats women like interchangeable parts." We exchanged numbers, made a pact. We'd support each other through this. We'd make sure our boys knew each other. We'd turn Mark's lies into something honest. That was 6 months ago. The divorce is almost final. Rachel left him the same week I did. He's living in an apartment alone, sees both boys on a court-ordered schedule, pays child support to both of us. Lost everything he tried to keep. Our sons have met. They're half-brothers. They like each other. Play together during exchanges. They don't understand the full story yet. They're too young, but someday they will. And they'll know their father chose his own desires over their well-being. Rachel and I have become friends, strange as that sounds. We bonded over shared trauma. We help each other navigate single parenthood. We laugh about the absurdity of it all. We've turned his betrayal into our strength. Mark keeps trying to apologise, keeps saying he made a mistake. But this wasn't a mistake. Mistakes are one-time things, accidents. This was a choice he made every single day for 6 years. A choice to lie, to manipulate, to betray. And the worst part, our son knew. A 5-year-old child figured it out before either of us did. Saw his father with another family and processed it the only way he knew how. Through drawings, through innocent observations, kids see more than we think. They pick up on inconsistencies, on lies, on the truth we try to hide. Mrs. Patterson saved me. If she hadn't called me in, I might have gone years without knowing, might have raised my son in a lie, might have wasted more of my life on a man who didn't value me. The comments on that post were split between rage at Mark and admiration for the two women. People couldn't believe how they turned betrayal into friendship, how they prioritized their children over anger. One person wrote, "This is what modern family looks like, messy, broken, but choosing to be better than the person who hurt you." Another wrote, "Those kids are lucky. They lost an honest father but gained 2 strong mothers who refused to let bitterness win." And that's the thing about these stories. Yes, they're about betrayal, about lies, about secrets that destroy, but they're also about survival, about strength, about people who refuse to let someone else's choices define them. Here's another one that'll make your skin crawl, posted by someone named Survivor Sister. Title: I found my sister's diary after she died, and now I understand why she really took her life. The post starts, "My sister Emma died 3 months ago. The official story is accidental overdose. She struggled with addiction for years. Everyone assumed she relapsed, lost control, died tragically, but not surprisingly. I never believed it. Emma was 6 months clean. Going to meetings, seeing a therapist, she was doing better, smiling again, making plans for the future. Then one morning my mum found her, unresponsive, empty pill bottles on the nightstand. The autopsy confirmed overdose, case closed. But I couldn't let it go. Something felt wrong. So I went through her room, looking for answers, looking for anything that explained why she'd throw away 6 months of sobriety. I found her diary hidden in a box in her closet, started reading, and everything made sense. Emma wrote about the addiction, about the pain she was trying to numb, but she also wrote about the cause, about why she started using in the first place. She wrote about our uncle, Uncle David, Dad's brother, the fun uncle who always brought gifts, who took us to amusement parks, who everyone loved. Emma wrote that he molested her, started when she was 8, continued until she was 14. Weekly abuse that she couldn't escape because he was family, because he was trusted, because no one would believe her if she told. She tried to tell our parents once when she was 11, worked up the courage to say Uncle David was touching her inappropriately. Dad got angry, told her not to make up stories, told her Uncle David was a good man who loved her, told her she should be grateful for his attention. So she stopped trying, buried it, carried it alone, started using drugs at 15 to cope, to forget, to numb the pain of abuse and the pain of not being believed. The diary entries got darker. She wrote about how being clean meant feeling everything, meant remembering everything she'd worked so hard to forget. She wrote, "Sobriety means living with the truth, and I don't know if I can do that." The last entry was dated the night she died. She wrote, "I saw Uncle David today at the grocery store. He smiled at me, waved, asked how I was doing, like nothing happened, like he didn't destroy me. And I realized he's never going to face consequences. He's never going to admit what he did. He's going to die a beloved family member, and I'm going to die the addict niece who couldn't get her life together. I can't do this anymore. I can't live in a world where he gets to be happy and I have to suffer. I can't keep pretending, so I'm done. I'm sorry, Mum. I'm sorry, Sis. I'm sorry I couldn't be stronger, but this is the only way I can be free." She didn't relapse. She gave up, chose peace over pain, and everyone missed why. I took the diary to my parents, made them read it, watched their faces change as they realized what they'd done, what they'd ignored. My dad collapsed, started sobbing, kept saying no, no, no over and over. Mum just stared at the pages, silent, broken. I asked if they believed Emma now that she was dead, now that her words were written proof. Dad said, I should have listened. I should have protected her. I failed her. I confronted Uncle David at his house, brought 2 friends with me for safety. He answered the door smiling. That same friendly uncle smile. I said, Emma's dead because of you. His smile faded. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out copies of the diary pages, read them to him right there on his porch, watched his face go from confusion to panic to anger. He said, she was troubled. She made things up. None of that is real. I said, she's dead. You don't get to deny it anymore. You don't get to pretend. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what you did. He threatened to sue me for slander, said I had no proof, said it was the word of a dead addict against a respected family member. And he was right. Legally, he was right. There was no physical evidence, no witnesses, just her words, and the system doesn't convict people on diary entries. But I didn't care about legal consequences. I cared about truth. I posted the diary pages online, redacted Emma's name, but included his. Tagged him. Tagged his employer. Tagged mutual family and friends. The post went viral in our community. People who knew him started coming forward. 3 other women, all with similar stories, all abused by Uncle David when they were children, all too scared to speak up, all thinking they were alone. Together we went to the police, filed reports, demanded investigation. The detective said it would be hard to prove, said the abuse happened decades ago, said without physical evidence or witnesses it was he said, she said, but he'd look into it. Uncle David lost his job, lost his friends, lost his reputation. His wife left him. His kids stopped talking to him. He became a pariah, but he was never arrested, never charged, never officially held accountable. He lives alone now, isolated, but alive. While Emma is dead. My parents are destroyed by guilt. Dad stopped talking to his brother, cut him off completely. Mum goes to therapy 3 times a week, trying to process the fact that she didn't protect her daughter. They asked if I forgive them. I said I don't know. Because how do you forgive someone for not believing your sister? For siding with her abuser? For contributing to the pain that killed her? But I also understand they were manipulated. That Uncle David was convincing. That they genuinely didn't know. That they're victims too, in a way. It's complicated. Everything is complicated. The comments on that post were full of similar stories. People who were abused and not believed. People who lost loved ones to suicide after years of hidden trauma. People who understood Emma's pain too well. One comment said, your sister couldn't survive the truth, but you're making sure the truth survives. Another said, the most dangerous place for abuse to happen is within families, because loyalty often beats honesty. And that's the pattern I keep seeing in these stories. Families protecting their own, choosing comfort over justice, prioritizing reputation over truth, until someone can't take it anymore, until someone dies or breaks or exposes everything. Then everyone acts shocked, acts like they had no idea, but there were always signs, always red flags, always moments when they could have chosen to believe, to protect, to act. They just didn't. Here's one more that shows a different angle, posted by a user named Accidental Detective. Title, I was organising old photos for my mum and discovered she's not who she says she is. The post begins, my mum is 70. She's been talking about making a photo album, one of those fancy books with all our family history. She asked me to digitise all her old photos, box after box of pictures from before I was born. I was scanning them one by one when I noticed something strange. In photos from the 70s and 80s, my mum looked different. Not just younger. Different. Different nose. Different chin. Different facial structure. I thought maybe it was bad photo quality, old cameras, lighting. But the more I looked, the more convinced I became that young mum and current mum were not the same person. I showed the photos to my wife, asked her opinion. She stared at them for a long time. Then she said, "These could be two different women." I felt crazy even thinking it, but I couldn't unsee it. So I did something invasive. I took one of my mum's hairbrushes, collected hair samples, sent them to a DNA testing company, along with my own DNA. The results came back. No match, no genetic relationship whatsoever. I sat with those results for a week. Didn't know what to do, didn't know what it meant. Finally, I confronted her, showed her the DNA results, said, "Want to explain this?" Mum went pale, sat down, stared at the paper for a long time. Then she said, "I was hoping you'd never find out." She told me a story that sounded like a movie, told me her real name was Linda Torres, that she grew up in Miami, that she got involved with the wrong people in her 20s, drug dealers, criminals, that she witnessed a murder, that she agreed to testify against them, that the prosecutor put her in witness protection. She was given a new identity, new name, new background, new life. She was relocated, given a job, told to start over. She met my dad a year later, fell in love, got married, had me, never told him the truth. Never told anyone. Lived as her new identity for 45 years. I asked if Dad knew. She shook her head. Said, "He died thinking I was who I said I was. Dad passed 5 years ago. Cancer." I asked what her real story was, who her real family was. She said, "I had parents, 2 brothers. I haven't seen them since witness protection. For all I know, they think I'm dead. As far as they're concerned, Linda Torres disappeared in 1979 and never came back. I asked if she missed them. She started crying, said, "Every single day. But I couldn't contact them, couldn't risk it. The people who wanted me dead might still be looking, so I gave up my family to stay alive." I asked who I really was. If Linda Torres was my mum, then who am I? She said, "You're my son. That's real. Your name is real. Your life is real. Only my past is fake." But it didn't feel real. It felt like my entire childhood was built on a foundation of lies. Like I didn't know my own mother. She showed me her original documents, kept hidden in a safe I didn't know existed. Her real birth certificate, photos of her real family, letters from the prosecutor who handled her case. It was all there, proof that my mum was someone else. I asked if I could find her family, if I could reach out to them. She panicked, said, "No, you can't. If you contact them, you put them at risk. You put us at risk. The people who wanted me dead had connections, had resources. I can't take that chance. So I'm stuck. Stuck knowing my mum has a whole family out there who don't know she's alive. Stuck knowing I have uncles and maybe cousins I'll never meet. Stuck with a secret that changes everything." I asked her what name to call her, Linda or the name I've always known. She said, "I've been your mum for 40 years. Call me Mum." But when I look at her now, I see a stranger. See someone who's been acting her whole life. See someone I don't really know. The comments were wild. People debating whether she should have told her family earlier, whether she should have told Dad, whether OP has a right to contact his biological grandparents. One person wrote, "She sacrificed her entire identity to stay alive. That's not lying. That's survival." Another wrote, "But she built a marriage and family on deception. Her husband deserved to know who he married. There's no easy answer. Both perspectives are valid. My mum gave up everything for safety, but everyone around her lived with someone who didn't exist. Is that fair? Is that right? I don't know. What I do know is that I spent 40 years thinking I knew my mother. And now I'm learning she's someone completely different. Someone with a past I can't access. Someone with secrets I'll never fully understand. And that's terrifying. Because if your own mother can be a stranger, who else is hiding who they really are? These stories keep escalating, keep revealing deeper and darker secrets, and they all point to the same truth. People are capable of incredible deception, of living double lives, of hiding fundamental truths for decades. But they also show something else. They show that eventually the truth comes out, maybe through DNA tests, maybe through deathbed confessions, maybe through a kid's drawing or old photographs. But it comes out. And when it does, everyone has a choice. Crumble under the weight of it, or rebuild with honesty as the foundation. Most people choose to rebuild. It's harder, it's painful, it requires facing things you'd rather ignore, but it's the only way forward. Because once you know, you can't unknow. Once the secret is out, you can't put back. You have to deal with it, process it, integrate it into your understanding of the world. And that changes you, makes you more cautious, more questioning, more aware that people aren't always who they claim to be. But it also makes you stronger, more resilient, more honest, because you've survived the worst, you've faced the truth and didn't break. You're still here, still breathing, still moving forward, and that's what matters. Not the secret itself, but how you respond to it, whether you let it define you, or whether you define yourself in spite of it. So if you're watching this carrying your own secret or reeling from someone else's, remember this. You're not alone. Thousands of people go through this every day. Discover lies, uncover truths, watch their worlds crumble. And most of them survive, most of them rebuild, most of them find peace. You will too. It just takes time and courage and willingness to face reality, no matter how painful. The truth is hard, but it's also liberating, because living in lies is exhausting. Pretending is draining. And once you stop, once you embrace honesty, you finally get to breathe. Finally get to be yourself. Finally get to build something real. That's the gift these stories offer. Not the drama, not the shock value, but the reminder that truth matters, that honesty heals, that secrets destroy, but revelations rebuild. Remember that, and you'll make it through anything. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.